Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to KN Energy's Investor Conference on the company's unaudited financial results for the 6 months of the year 2026. My name is Olga and I will be moderating today's event. As usual, we will start our conference with the company's presentation, which will be followed by a live Q&A session. You are kindly invited to submit your questions in writing by using the Q&A window below the presentation, or you can raise your hand and be unmuted after the presentation is over. Please be informed that this session is being recorded and replay will be available soon after the call. And without further delay, I would like to give the floor to our today's host, Tomas Tumėnas, Chief Financial Officer of KN Energies. Please, Tomas, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Olga. Hello to everyone in this quite rainy afternoon in Vilnius. So I would like to share and describe our situation during the first half, what we did, what happens within the company, within the group, and I'm really happy to share all financial information and major events. So let's start. And as usually, I would like to give some information about overall market situation worldwide in oil industry and in gas industry, also in our region. Then we will touch completely market and business situation of the KN Group, and then we will touch at the end financial results, which actually have been released or was released in the stock exchange. So let's start. Major highlights we pointed out here, but I would like maybe to emphasize on the especially more commercial or business-oriented KPIs like methanol cargo. For us, it's a really important milestone because we handled almost 5,000 cubic meters, and also we managed to make the first commercial methanol cargo within our port ever in history and ever in our infrastructure. It required additional investments, preparation, and we look forward to increase that loading of such kinds of products in the future because they are really demanded in the market. Can allocated almost 71% of future gas decommissioning, regasification, or let's say all our capacities during period for the future period as of 2033 till 2044. Also, our key project in new energy business segment, CO2 emission CCS project, got project of national importance, and as a result of the very active activity in our LNG business unit, the FSRU average utilization so far during the first 6 months was 86%, so it was really huge. So let's go on and also some major KPIs regarding the revenues. As you see, our revenues on the top line, we managed to increase our revenues per group by 14% versus the first half of the last year, reaching 58 million euros. EBITDA increased by almost 15%, reaching 31 million euros. And the net profit, official net profit, we increased almost 60% and reaching almost 14 million euros. So I would say as in overall, really good results, really strong results, despite the total overall vulnerability in the energy market, let's put it this way. So really, I think we are performing pretty well. In basically all our business segments are doing better versus the last year. And also in our daily life, we are monitoring regarding the budget. So also we're overperforming the budget. And as we see, accordingly, the market definitely reacted to some information we released during the 6 months, also including first quarter results. And by that, our capitalization grew by almost 29 million euros, and share price since the beginning of this year increased 13.6% and are performing overall stock exchanges in Baltic countries. So, market and business overview. As you know, and also I guess you are watching the energy business and situation in the energy markets. And if we take as a start, the beginning of this year, and especially the end of the March, when the, let's say, campaign, United States started campaign against Iran in Hormuz, the prices for all energy products, meaning oil products, petrol, and gas increased a lot. So the fluctuation in the market is very high. The prices went up since the Hormuz, let's say, case surged by almost 50%. And currently, if we take the gas prices, they are trading at around 61, 63 euros per megawatt hour, and crude oil, as you see, also fluctuates around 80, 90 euros dollars, sorry, meaning that all these high prices, from one hand, puts quite good in a good situation oil refineries, meaning that the crushing margins are quite high for the first half of this year worldwide, and definitely the performance of the oil refineries are very good as well, and they are announcing very good results. What it means for us, it means that one of our major clients, Orlen, also enjoying quite high margins, and the volumes and the production capacity utilization at all oil refineries are quite high. So this is like secure as supply, and we are happy to provide as much service as we can to all our oil partners, meaning our clients. But from another hand, the fluctuations definitely puts some certain uncertainty and additional pressure on the costs side, on the OPEX. And also, I'm not showing there is the fluctuation of our carbon emission prices. They also fluctuated a lot. And for us, for Ken Group, emission prices impacts a lot on overall OPEX, because the prices, how much we're spending for emission certificates is quite high, amounting to almost 6 million euros. So meaning that also from risk perspective, from the pressure on OPEX, it's a negative impact. And okay, so if we just go more deeply in LNG market, what happens in the 2026 in the first half? So as you see, is via our terminal have been imported basically only from two origins, from two countries, the LNG. So it came from primarily from Norway, 58%, and then the rest from United States. If we look on the Europe level, so the distribution supply is slightly different, and depending on each country, they have slightly different situation. But in overall, the major sources of LNG import came from Norway and United States, followed by Trinidad, Tobago, and also from Qatar. Also, some quantities still are imported. Unfortunately, still are imported from Russia, and one of the biggest countries importing from Russia LNG is Belgium. And as I mentioned, the Klaipėdos, our FSRU independence utilization rate is very high, as you see, reaching 86%. So it's higher than we had last year in the same period of the last year, and also definitely much more higher compared with the European average, which is 53%. So actually, I would say that this is very, very good utilization ratio, and of course, it's very important for us, meaning that we have quite steady, stable LNG import flow, and our FSRU works as a factory, as manufacturing facility, and works at almost 100% of the capacity. And we're enjoying that utilization, and also our commercial people are doing everything in order to sell our capacity to our clients. What is the situation with let's say gas storage, because it's very important also indicator. So if we are discussing at the end of the June, taking the end of the June, the reporting period, so storage in Europe was approximately 48% of, let's say, total needed capacity, and it's almost 10% below historical levels. And I have looked in the morning what is the situation, taking into account the most recent data. So taking into account the beginning of August, so the storage level increased to almost 58%, but still, again, this is below the normal level, below by almost the same 10% of the normal level. And also, as you see, Latvia, meaning that this is here, Baltics are storing the LNG, also is quite below the historical level. And that definitely puts, I would say, some risk, some additional pressure in the future, depending on the situation, the Hormuz, if they will open or not, and what will be the case, because Europe, as I said, primarily imports gas from not only Norway and United States, but also from, let's say, the same Qatar or Hormuz countries. And maybe the majority of that gas goes into the South European countries like Italy, Spain, maybe less than in northern part, but nevertheless, taking into account all situations. So I would say, difficult to predict, but meaning that it could be some problems or some challenges in, having sufficient gas before the winter if the Hormuz Strait will not be opened. And accordingly, that impacts directly the prices for the gas, which during the past 2 weeks went up again by 15%. So the traders and the investors are taking into account that risk. And of course, nobody knows what will be the winter, a cold or mild one. So we have some uncertainties in the future regarding the, let's say, our demand for gas in Europe. And then I would like, just to go through our business segments, and the biggest one in terms of the revenues, in terms of the profitability is regulated activity. And as I already mentioned, we are really enjoying the very high performance indicators. Utilization ratio, as I said, it's very high. Very important thing that we managed to do during the past, I guess, in past 2 months, was that we opened a tender auction for our future capacities, and for the period of 2033 till 2044. As you know, currently we have everything booked till 2033, so we managed and we planned to make a new one tender, a new one auction for the future, for the next 10 years. And I would say our auction was really successful, very, very successful actually, and we sold almost 70%, concretely 71% of our future utilization of the capacity of the FSRU, meaning that it gives us a lot of stability, predictability in the future cash flows, in future inflows. And also it shows that, the importance of the Klaipėda's terminal is very, very, let's say, demanded in the market. Even taking into account that, our neighbors, especially in Poland, they are building the second one FSRU vessel in order to supply and fulfill their demand for the gas, because Poland is one of the biggest gas importers and consumers in the Europe. So actually, we're really happy and proud, I would say, regarding those results, and a lot of efforts has been made by commercial people. And even it is important that we managed to put in our list as a new client a Ukraine company, Naftogaz and Gasum from Finland. So actually, this is also very important. Even taking into account that still we have not bidded some capacity from our existing clients, because for one or another reason, maybe for them it's too early to make let's say obligations, or to write regarding the obligations for the future, let's say, bookings of our capacity. I hope that time will come, and I am pretty sure that we will sell the rest of, let's say, 20% easily, meaning that our utilization ratio starting from 2033 and beyond will be not 71, but almost close to the current levels. Just wanted to remind you that that full terminal, according to the, let's say, accounting rules and depreciation, it is operated till 2044. So basically, it means like the value on 2044 will be balance sheet value 0, which is actually, of course, not will be the true, but this is it showing that, you know, we're really in a good position, a very strong position in our, let's say, regulated activity. Also, some information, financial information, because every year and the regulator recalculates the WACC, in other words, our return on the assets, which is allowed to keep it within the company. And as you see, we got for the next year slightly less amount of the WACC versus current one, and it means it's almost 0.2 million euro less revenues we will get in the next year versus the current one. So this is really profound and very strong results for the regulated activity, and accordingly in the figures it reflected, as you see, and revenues increased and EBITDA increased, and also important to note that within our revenues we have also some commercial revenues, as we're calling, which is within our terminal and extra activities. So beyond our obligations that we have from the clients, we managed also to sell several cargoes during the first half of this year and get extra revenues for the company and also for the consumers. If we go into the second, in terms of the volumes and size, our business segment, liquid energy. So in the liquid energy, if we take the overall market and we take our performance, this is slightly different, meaning that the company is going above, if we take the overall market growth, because it's not even in the whole Baltic region. Whereas Klaipėda is performing quite okay, as you see in our figures and presentation. Klaipėda port handled almost 2.3 million tons of oil products, and this is 12% increase, while Latvian and Estonian ports declined accordingly if we compare it with the period a year ago. So our share in oil market remains almost the same. I mean stable, and we are serving around 30% of all Baltic oil terminal liquid energy markets throughput within Baltic ports, and of course almost up to 100% of via Klaipėda port. If we take some highlights and financial figures on liquid energy, so we transshipped 2 million tons of various oil products. It's 9% growth. I already mentioned we managed to sell 4,000 cubic meters methanol cargo, methanol cargo, and revenues increased by 7% to 16 million euros, and EBITDA remained almost the same. We are very happy, of course, with the good relations with Orlen, as I discussed, one of our biggest clients, and the throughput of their products, especially diesel, increased a lot. And thanks to the diesel, thanks to the blended gasoline and methanol, we managed to grow by 7% in revenues. While if we take the total consumption, for example, of gasoline in Lithuania, it increased only 1.4%, and diesel increased only by 0.8%. So meaning we are performing the markets in our terminal utilization. And that's good, also puts a quite stable cash flow in our second, in terms of the revenues and size, business segment. Already I mentioned the liquid oil products. Then we're going to the commercial LNG. And commercial LNG also growing a lot. So meaning basically means that we are importing LNG various cargos, and then we're loading into the trucks, and we in the first half of the year reloaded up to almost 1,300 trucks, and this is that represents the 40% increase versus the last year, and that also supported our growth of whole liquid product market. And if we separating it separately into commercial LNG, so it contributed almost 2.7 million euros in EBITDA to the total performance of the company. And also very important to note, I'm just almost forgot that our team managed to sign an O&M contract for some services to the gas system, the monopoly operator in the Poland. As I mentioned, they are building the second terminal, and also we are trying to sell our services of managing those FSRU vessels and the inshore terminal. So actually, we signed that contract. So far, it's like one of the steps we believe for the future and future cooperation with the Polish LNG business and terminal operators. If we are talking about new energy, basically this is the future of our business, so-called new energy businesses. And here it's a really important milestone was achieved regarding the status of CCS project. We got national importance status, and that allows us, to move much more smoother, much more quicker with all decisions in order to implement to start constructions, let's say, after feasibility studies, to got all permissions needed from the various government institutions, and that it's really lengthy process, and of course it costs the time, costs the money, and therefore we really managed, together with all support from the state authorities, especially from the Minister of Energy. They supported the company a lot in that movement, and we are thanks to them, meaning that we are putting a more solid playground, more solid ground actually for CCS project to be valid. Currently, we are very heavily involved in launching front-end engineering design study, and also into the process of getting the grant. We're applying for the grant from European Commission regarding building that terminal. So we are in the process of submitting the documents, and we will inform about the results of that process in the forthcoming months. Summarizing, wrapping up everything, as you see, taking into account what I already mentioned in different business segments. So we really enjoyed the growth in the revenues, and since revenues are growing, so definitely our other financial KPIs, EBITDA, net profit is growing as well. Despite that, also our OPEX is not staying at the same level that it used to be last year. And of course, I would like to see it stable, but definitely taking into account energy prices, taking still account the pressure on the salaries and other OPEX lines, we need to cover by revenues, by growth in the revenue size. Always I'm presenting and explaining the normalized financial results, meaning those results that are excluding impact of various regulated differences or inputs or impacts or inflows or outflows regarding regulated activity. So here you see we have if we take official, let's say, business performance of LNG business segment, regulated business segment, and let's say performance of normalized activities. So the figures are slightly less versus the official, because all extra income that we managing to get, we are in the future, we will need to return to the regulator, and that will have an impact on our official results in the forthcoming years. But despite of that, so as you see, the first half of this year was really good, very strong, and net profit, even taking out all that impact, we managed to received almost 9.5 million euros. So it's really good growth, especially comparing to the last year, and looking forward to see the same results, almost let's say or close to them in the first half of this year. And I will not touch maybe the profitability market value figures. And closing my presentation, always I wanted to show you our financial situation and cash flow situation and financial, let's say, strength. So net debt, as you see, is 239 million euros. It amortizes the loans. I just wanted to remind that we are the only one company in Lithuania having the government guarantee, the state guarantee. So it's like secured loan from company's perspective. And looking from net debt to EBITDA level and the SRS level, we are really okay. And also taking our free cash flow situation. So as you see, we are in the first half of the year, we are in a good position, having almost 25 million euros of free cash flow, taking into account quite big amount of dividends which we have paid for the 2025 year results. And our cash flow from operating activities as usually are very strong. Regarding investment activity, CapEx, looking forward, taking into account our future investment plans. So we will have additional spendings in that cash flow line. And financing activity, of course, it's a negative because every year we're paying the loans for our FSRU. I will not see any dramatic changes here, but from operational cash flow perspective, the company and the group is in really very good and strong position. So thank you for your attention, and happy to answer questions if those our audience will have.
Thank you, Tommy, for the presentation. And yes, indeed, we are now moving to the questions. And just to remind you that you can submit them either in writing in the Q&A window below, or you can raise your hand to be unmuted. So first, let's start with the question that we have received in advance of the call, which is the following. Allocate next year's gasification capacity. Will the capacity be expanded because there are free spaces?
The capacity, unfortunately, we can't expand of our FSRU because it's like, as I said, big manufacturing facility, and the expansion only could take place if we will acquire additional FSRU vessels. So basically, our, let's say, as we're calling, real capacity amounts to almost 34.8 terawatt hours. And as already we have mentioned, everything is booked. And if we specifically, if we're talking about the next year, 2027, also we managed to sell 3 out of 5 cargoes for the 2027. And for the 2027, if we're looking from, let's say, how much is booked out of the capacity, so already is booked 36 terawatt hours. So meaning even more than our, let's say, this sort of like a limit. But this is a really good sign, meaning that definitely during the year many things could happen, and it happens, and the clients sometimes cancel, not sometimes, but yeah, they cancel the cargo depending on the situation, the prices and import possibilities. But of course, as you know, again, that we have all our capacity, all the cargoes are take or pay in nature, meaning that for the company, for the group, this is no harm if the certain cargoes which are booked are cancelled. So we already booked 36 terawatt hours, despite that our capacity is around 35 terawatt hours.
Thank you. And we have received one more question. What would be your predictions for this whole year?
I think that I would say if we take the growth, if we take like the growth, total growth, or the growth per business segment, and comparing the first half versus the the same period in the last year. So I would say that in the second half, the growth will be versus the last year, but slightly less than we had in the first half because of the various reasons. And for example, one of those, in August, we have reconstructions, let's say, works in the pipelines, gas pipelines, meaning that because of this, we can't send the gas, and of course we will need to stop for a while, for a couple of weeks, our FSRU regarding this. So as an example, this is like a technical reasons, which is actually happening during the summer. This is nothing wrong about that, but this is like I would say normal business activities. But then again, what it will be the situation for example, November or December, and what it will be the weather conditions, also, is a question mark. Nobody knows. So, but answering to the question, I would say I would predict slightly less growth in the second half versus the second half of the 2025 than we had in the first half of this year.
Thank you. Moving to the next question. Is the EU methane regulation a risk factor for 2027? How is KN planning to comply?
Regarding methanol, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's written methane regulation. EU methane regulation.
No, basically, if we are I would not like separately exclude or take it out, methane regulation versus other, let's say, CO2 regulation requirements. We have our activity plan regarding firstly diminishing CO2 and methanol, also taking into account all the events that according to these regulations could change. And of course, one thing is regarding our own situation, our own terminal, and the second is regarding our clients, which also they are following those regulations. But so far, what I'm trying to say, we are just following our action plan, and here I would not predict so far anything wrong or negative in the future, negative impacts in the future regarding the businesses and regulations, if nothing extraordinary out of the blue would happen.
Thank you. I don't see any new questions coming in, but let's wait maybe a couple of seconds to ensure there are no additional questions. Yes, I see one more question. Could you please elaborate your plans in Vietnam?
Thank you. Thank you. Also, it's a good question. And the Vietnam as well also announced, and in our last announcement regarding, let's say, Asian activities, and also in the previous half a year ago, Vietnam is one of our, let's say, key markets for our commercial activity, as we're calling this new energy activities. So here it's like our key market, and we are working, let's say, step by step in that market. It's a big market. It's of course it's dominated by the big international players with a presence, very heavy presence of China, energy companies, LNG companies, gas companies from Japan and United States. So the really competitive market, but also very growing market, and they need a lot imported LNG because they are very, as you know, Vietnam is a manufacturing, let's say, country. Yes, so they need a lot of also gas for their manufacturing businesses and also for the consumers, for the simple citizens. So it's a demanded market worldwide and growing, but very, very competitive. And then in order to enter, to have the market share for us, from quite small country and quite small company, it's not easy. Therefore, we need to be patient. But I really believe that our, let's say, investments in terms of the not money, let's say, but also in terms of let's say, the people, of the human resources, of in order to maintain those connections will pay us out. And I hope very much, I hope that in forthcoming future, I really would hope that we will be able to announce some concrete business cases. So of course, this is no you can't give, I can't give a guarantee, or we as a company can't give guarantee at the moment, but this is why we're working. So really, I'm looking forward, and I hope that we will be able to deliver in the next, let's say, 6 or 8 months, something new regarding the Vietnam.
Thank you. And then the next question: what will be the deal with Idle Petro gives specifically, and also how much would KN Energies invest in Vietnam, if you have any calculations?
No, here really I don't want to speculate regarding the figures for the investments into Vietnam. Only I can say, it could be from 1 million euros to, let's say, 20 million euros. But really, it's too early to make any let's say, any concrete figures, because it won't be wise and professional from my side. So of course, again, it's not only the growing market, but also where is the business, there is risks. So accordingly, we need to be, to mitigate those risks as much as we can. And I would say that taking into account the role and as our status that we are state-owned company. So for us, risks is very, very, let's say, very, very on high level, on priority level. So for us, maybe sometimes it's more, I would say, even more difficult to make some commercial decisions versus the totally private company. Therefore, again, I don't want to give any predictions regarding the sizes and amounts. So only one message: be patient and believe in us, and we will deliver the results.
Thank you, Tommy. And now the question on dividends. In 2021, profit from financial activity for 2020 was eliminated when it came to calculate dividend base. In 2026, there is also profit from financial activity. Can it be eliminated next spring when it will come to calculate dividend base for 2026? Or will 60% all profit be allocated?
If we are talking about 2020, so basically that financial activity came from, forex fluctuation, meaning this is not like a, cash flow item. Currently, what we have in financial income, we have basically two components. Of course, the amount is slightly less than 2020. So basically, this is income from our investment activities, meaning deposits, etc. stuff. We are not investing in any other type of financial products, and also from our hedge activities. And the hedge activities, we're hedging not for speculations, for the risk management. As I said, the biggest hedge came on EU carbon emission, and then on the gas. Also, we are consuming gas internally. So we are currently in the okay situation. We managed to get momentum and to enter into hedge a good time, and that will have direct impact on our financial results, and those figures will not be eliminated. So this is my answer.
Thank you, Tommy. And it looks like we have successfully addressed all the questions that we've got for today. So thank you once again for your presentation and for answering the questions. And I would like also to thank all the participants for your time and interest. So we will be looking forward to seeing you in our future events.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone, and wish you a good half of the day, and yeah, have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.